Hello, welcome. Today I want to talk about the meditative life, which is the life that we're supposed to live. You could say that there are two ways to live. Like an animal, with conflict, or meditatively. Meditatively meaning that you always have an awareness of the fact that you exist and that you were created and that you have a purpose. You have something to do. And in exchange for that, a lot of good things happen. The life of an animal, on the other hand, a coyote, a beaver, a skunk, is a life of reacting. Reacting. Without the kind of awareness that human beings are capable of having. But have you noticed that the more emotional you become, the less principled you become, the less honorable, the less thoughtful, the less wise? Have you noticed? You become emotional, and what's the evidence? You make mistakes, you do dumb things, you say the wrong thing, you're impulsive, you have accidents, you get in arguments, you buy the wrong thing, you eat the wrong thing. That's emotion. So you could see there that there's an emotional way of living, and there is a principled, honorable, wise, thoughtful way of living. So you have these two different ways. If you are more toward the one than the other, then you will reap the benefits of being more thoughtful, wise, and so on, or the penalties for being more emotional. Now, emotions circulate around something. Emotions circulate around, revolve around, are centered in a reaction to something. So, to the extent that you are emotional, you are also reactive. In other words, something else is leading you. Something else is drawing you. Something else is pulling you. Something else is controlling you. If you get angry at someone, then you begin to base whatever you do upon what they say and upon their reaction. They say something, you react, and they react to you, and you react to them, and like that, right? Reaction. Whereas the meditative life is a life that comes from within, where principle leads, honor leads, patience leads, wisdom leads. Do you see the difference? On the one, something else is leading you, and on the other, yes, you are being led, but led by what? By principle, by honor, by justice, by fairness. You see the difference. Now we all know that. See, I'm not saying this is not rocket science, but in a sense it is, because it's so simple you don't get it. It's so simple that you miss it. And one of the reasons you miss it is because you're emotional. There's an interesting passage in the Bible. Where it said the things of God are foolishness to the animal man. How does that go? What is that? Let me see if I can find it here. Yes, it says, 1 Corinthians 2:14, the natural person does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, and he cannot understand them. The natural person does not accept the things of the Spirit of God. They are foolishness to him, and he is not able to understand them because they are spiritually discerned. So, now do you get it? The one life begins with God. It's from God. It's life from God. Life that contains wisdom, justice, fairness, understanding, insight, truth, patience, love, forbearance, long-suffering. It is a life based in him, and it comes from him, and it flows forth. It's not something that you dredge up in your animal brain. You don't have to think it up. It just flows forth. Whereas emotions are based in reacting. Now, we also know that emotions rise up and overwhelm the delicate promptings of spirit. See, God does not violate your will. He does not force you to do anything. Other people do, don't they? They pressure you, they tease you, they challenge you, they pressure you. Yes, they do. God doesn't. He would like for you to wish to know the truth and wish to live properly and so on. And he won't force himself upon you. You see? And so the emotions can rise up and overwhelm those delicate promptings. God could make them very strong if he wanted. He could make them very strong. But he leaves them gentle so that you are not forced to apprehend them, nor are you forced to live them. So now it's very simple. Earlier I said it's not rocket scientist. Well, it's so simple that people don't get it, or they don't want to get it, or they can't. If you can, there's a blessing upon you. But let's continue talking about emotions. I want you to see that emotions are animal and not human. And to the extent that you're less emotional, you become more human. So you say, well, how's that, Roland? Well, I'll just give you a simple example that's easy for you to see. Let's say you're in an airplane, you're in a jet, flying somewhere, and all of a sudden there's turbulence. Okay? And so it's a little bit scary. Maybe it's really bad turbulence, and it's a little bit scary. Then the captain comes on the intercom. You want the captain to be calm, composed, thoughtful, see, unemotional. You don't want the captain to be falling apart at the seams, yelling and screaming. Do you? Of course not. And we all respect, when you see somebody becomes resentful and hateful and selfish, you don't have any respect for them. You see it. You know that it's inferior, don't you? And when you yourself become resentful, are you proud of yourself? No, you slink around. You know that it's an inferior, it's not superior. See, there's a superior way of living. That's right. And it's living gracefully. Gracefully. Gracefully means it's a gift from God. God has this gift. He gave you a gift at birth. Do you realize that? Yes, he gave you life. I know what you're thinking, that he gave you life. That is also a gift. So he gave you two gifts. He gave you life, and he gave you intuition and awareness. So you could know things. When you were a little child, you saw things and you knew things wordlessly. It's a gift. Animals don't have it. They don't have intuition. I've always said God gave animals instincts. He gave humans intuition. So he gave you these precious gifts. He doesn't stop giving. His truth is always there. Love is always there. Understanding, wisdom, insight, and a path for you, prepared before your birth, a purpose for you. You were known before you were born. You were known. And something has been prepared for you. Are you going to search for it and find it? This wonderful gift from God with your awareness. You can use his gift of life and his gift of awareness and intuition. You can use those gifts to find the gift, the other gifts that he has for you. You see? In order to do so, you have to live the meditative life, not the animal life. Now, your whole life you've lived the animal life. You couldn't help it. You were born first of the earth, of earthly parents, who themselves were fallen and emotional and corrupted and traumatized. They didn't find it. Maybe your dad had a little bit of it, but he lost it. The world was too much for him. Your mom was too much for him. He did the best he could, so don't resent it. He undoubtedly did. Most fathers have some decency. You see it in them, didn't you, when you were a little child? You saw there was something in him that you wished he had all the time and more, but he didn't have much of it. Maybe he had a little patience sometimes, a steady hand, calm hand. You saw it. It was beautiful. You wanted more of it. He didn't have it. So don't resent him. He can't give you what he didn't have. But you were born of these fallen parents and in a fallen world, and you became emotional. And you went through life and became more and more and more emotional, overt or covert, suppressed or repressed. See? A lot of people, you don't see the emotions on the surface. I'll never forget. This is a little aside, but I'll never forget. I used to go to a billiard parlor when I was a young guy. I liked the game. It was a fun game. And I loved playing billiards. There was a guy who used to come in there, big tall guy. He was like 6'9", I don't know, tall. And he would come in. He was very calm, very, very calm. And one day, his phone rang, his cell phone. He answered it. It was somebody. He went outside and he started arguing. I don't know why, but I'm sure it was a woman, his girlfriend or his wife. And he was standing outside arguing with her for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. He came in. He stood by the pool table. And he keeled over like a giant oak tree. He keeled over. He had a massive heart attack and he was dead. He was a young guy too, maybe 40, 35, young guy. Keeled over. Stress. See? Inside, internalized. So you have to learn not to be emotional, suppressed or repressed. You have to learn to flow from the spiritual side instead of reacting from the animal side, to lead with wisdom, with principle, with honor. But what I was going to say is that because your whole life you've been emotional, now you are just a basket case of emotions. Your body starts reacting. Some little thing happens and you react to it. You become irritated, nervous, excited, angry, frustrated, excited, nervous. See, you become emotional. And you're just from top to bottom, for every one of your cells and nerves, every system in your body is just constantly bathed in hormones and cortisol and adrenaline, and you're just nervous and excitable and so on. And it affects your thinking. The emotions rise, and then it stimulates the thoughts and the imagination. And so you're just lost in imagination, lost in thinking, worrying, planning, scheming, reliving the past, and emotions. They go together. One drives the other. Emotion drives thought, thought drives emotion, emotion drives thought, and there you are. So most people get stuck in that. They're so immersed in emotion that they can't see the forest for the trees. They can't come up to the surface of the water and break through, or above the clouds. You know how sometimes there's clouds, dark clouds, and when you're in a plane, you rise above the clouds and suddenly it's blue sky. That's where you need to be, up there. So you can observe thought and observe the emotion without being immersed in it. So when you struggle with it, you want to become immersed in it more. When you give into it, throw in the towel, you become immersed in it more. No, you have to just learn the art of standing back and observing it. It's all. It's so simple. And the little meditation, I have a free one. I also have a 4-part meditation that I should talk about more. It's like the classic meditation. If you go to my website, you can find it. And I ask, I think, a $10 donation. You get the 4-part meditation to download. You get 2 books to download. You get a booklet to download. You get all this stuff. But you don't have to get that one. In fact, the first part, you can listen to the first part of it, which is very nice, very nice. You can listen to it for free and use it. You can use it. Or I have other free meditations. I call them the easy meditation or free meditation. They're only like 6 or 7 or 8 minutes long. You get those. You can go to YouTube, and sometimes you can see me practicing meditation right there. So that's what you need to do. You need to get the meditation. Learn a little simple technique of standing back from thoughts and emotions and observing them. And then you can begin to live the meditative life.